there comes a big question when my clients will ask me, so you're telling us, okay, this is space and ether and it's cold and it's dry. How do we take care of ourselves? And for me, there are three main ways of taking care. It is through food, through nourishing your senses, and through sleep and restful awareness. And I want to say, one of my teachers had once said, and I love this, your spice cabinet is your first access to apothecary. So foods can really heal, spices can, and by spices, I'm not saying 2 pounds of cayenne pepper, right? So by spices, I mean just adding seasonal spices, not making the food that spicy. And we'll get into that. So by following a Vata pacifying diet, and so what does that mean? From an Ayurvedic perspective, like increases like. So if we are saying Vata is dry and mobile and cold and irregular, imagine if you're eating popcorn. What will happen? Your Vata goes up. Now think of foods like popcorn, potato chips, again dry. Why is it that when we eat chips, very often we need water to drink, right? It's because it's dry and it is terrible for you in that sense, because it has the Vata qualities. What else am I thinking of? Like, think of foods which are super, super dry, and foods that you might eat and you feel like, oh, I need some water and I'm starting to choke. So a simple way of eating a Vata pacifying diet. Oh, salads. I used to be a salad junkie and a trail mix junkie, really. Like, my passion was a nice salad on a summer day until Ayurveda became a part of my life. And I realized, oh, my digestion has changed ever since I stopped eating raw salad. So what happens is people who have Vata imbalance, they tend to have a little questionable digestion. And by what I mean by that is the bowel movement might be irregular, right? They might be constipated. They might be going to the bathroom at different time of the day on any given day, right? So, and what raw food does, it is cold, increases Vata. It is dry, increases Vata. It has, and there's these tastes from an Ayurvedic nutrition perspective that we're not touching about today, but those tastes also increase Vata. So what it does is people who have a Vata digestion, they have a hard time digesting food, hence the constipation, the sleeplessness, right? And salads are harder to digest because when foods are not cooked, our digestive system has to work double the amount of time to digest everything. So what you want to do to pacify your Vata is eat warm, simple, cooked meals. So what that means is, like, khichdi is an Indian thing, but it doesn't have to be khichdi necessarily. What khichdi is a combination of mung beans, the split yellow mung beans, and basmati rice with spices and seasonal veggies. And you cook that, and the more cooked it is, the warmer it is. It makes digestion simpler. Like a change like this, and my clients have felt the difference. Instead of the salad, I felt the difference. Instead of eating a salad, if you just have a warm soup or a stew where things are well cooked with some root vegetables, you'll feel the difference. The trail junkie that I was saying, for me in the subway, I live in the city, in New York City. And so the easiest snack for me was to keep like a box or a Ziploc of nuts at all times. If I was hungry, I'd rather eat my nuts than go out and buy. It's very easy to buy that Kit Kat off a newsstand at the subway stop, right? Here I thought I was doing a good deal, but obviously my digestion was being impacted because nuts are heavy. Just raw nuts are heavy for a Vata digestion. So again, nuts are dry. So, this should help you start thinking that way. What food is dry? Like bread. Bread can feel really dry, right? And so anything which is dry or cold or in terms of food, you want the opposite of that. So for Vata cooking, you want a little bit of oil. I would say sesame oil if you don't have allergies for this season, because Vata is cold, you want something heating. And Ayurvedic concept of heat and cold is different from the Western concept, right? Like ice cream is cold from a Western perspective. But in Ayurveda, we look at what does it do to the digestion and how does it end up in your body? It has a heating effect. So again, just touching upon those basics. So like sesame oil is warm, it's heating. So if you toss the same salad, just toss it in for a few seconds. right? Breaks down the molecules and makes foods easily digestible. So you don't have to compromise on your salad, or sometimes just turn them into stew. Basmati rice is great for vatas. It helps with the digestion. Also, vatas, when you think of anxiety, we are like this, right? It's very different from depression for the most part. From an Ayurvedic perspective, depression is more a kapha imbalance. So when we are here, we need something to calm us, right? And so something to ground us. And basmati rice can be grounding because it has a sweet taste from an Ayurvedic perspective. It's also a little heavy because vata is so light. We want something heavier to counterbalance it. So like I said, root vegetables are great, sweet potatoes. You can even use beet. Those are great. Some of the greens. Asparagus is wonderful. What else? I am a big believer in ghee because ghee has great medicinal properties. The dryness, ghee takes care of that. So the cracking, popping joints, introducing ghee, there's medicated ghee for external application, but just even a teaspoon of ghee can be really good for lubricating because vata oftentimes, like I said, is so dry. So it's like dry joints rubbing over each other, dry skin. And you want that lubrication. Next would be nourishing your senses. And what does that mean? It could mean different things to different people, right? So the one thing that I did not realize until Ayurveda became a part of my life was I like movement a lot, right? Like for me, movement is everything. I get tired of sitting in an airplane. I'm one of those people. Like, when can I move? When can I work out? When can I go from point A to B? Like you'd really find me sitting on a couch unless I'm unwell. And I've had to make a very intentional effort because mobility, that speed is also vata increasing, to balance it with grounding myself, which is sitting. So what that means is, if you feel like, again, I'll go quickly over the signs, extra dryness more than usual, cold hands or feet, rest of your body is warm, but your extremities are cold, the dryness of the skin, that anxiety or like not being able to sleep, feeling constipated, gas and bloat. Two things that I didn't touch upon earlier. Yeah. Feeling gassy or bloated all the time. Like you eat and you feel like, oh my God, this is uncomfortable. I can't see people because that's how gassy and bloated I feel, right? So we talked about food and how that impacts. B is warm beverages. So nourishing your senses. I'll talk about the workouts, but like ginger tea, right? Using cayenne a little bit of cayenne is good, but cinnamon. Cinnamon is a heating spice. So cinnamon can really work towards pacifying your vata. So you can drink cinnamon tea, you can add it to your soups or stews, add it to in Indian cooking, there's something called a biryani. So while that's heavy, make a lighter version of it, like vegetables with basmati rice and some spices. Cinnamon can really pacify vata. A lot of people ask me coconut oil. Coconut oil is great for summer. But if you have an extremely that extreme vata imbalance, ghee and sesame are much better for you. So yeah, nourish your senses with ginger tea. Something as simple as ginger tea. Some people like to put a little bit of turmeric. Extra turmeric is not the best thing for vata because it's astringent and that increases vata. So a little bit will not do you any harm. From an Indian store, like if you like cooking lentils or beans or legumes, vatas might find it hard to digest. So cook them really well. But there's something called hing, and I'll put it in the chat. It's HEENG. It's called asafoetida. You can find it in an Indian store. It's a very heating spice. You need like literally a pinch before you make your beans. When you add in your ghee or your oil and your cumin or any of the spices, add a pinch of hing. That works very well with bloating or gas. Like I will not make a lentil soup, whether it's Indian or Western, I don't care what it is, without a pinch of hing because it just helps to digest things better.